races and languages of mankind. We cannot say in what part of the world man first came into existence. Countries including India take the Gypsies. Papa, what is the meaning of Turandas and steppes?
Tundra and steppes and gypsy. Okay.
What is the meaning of?
All right, we try to explain that to you. Okay. So let this go apart. So we try to look at tundra. Okay. We look at tundras.
Tundra.
Do you see tundra here?
Tundra. I see tundra.
All right. So first we need to understand what is our topic today. It says about the races and languages of mankind. Okay. And it says, we will not go into the entire thing today, we'll just try to understand how it could have evolved. So first we need to look at the globe and we need to understand. So do you think there are many countries? So what happened when the entire earth was covered by snow at the time of the ice age? So how many countries were there?
There were 1,000.
I think there was no countries because the entire earth was covered in ice and there was no human being. So there could not be any country. There could be some aquatic animals and aquatic plants, but those are all dependent upon the time.
Underground.
So now try and understand this. So this is our earth. The earth is a sphere in shape. Do you think this is a sphere?
Yes, but it's a football.
This is a sphere.
It's a tennis ball.
All right. We got another sphere, okay?
That's a smiley ball.
All right, this is the perfect one to understand the hemisphere of the earth. Can you see it has been divided into two? Maybe when it was made in the factory, there were two halves.
And then they added a Fevikwik and pasted it together.
Exactly. So that way, maybe this is how it can be divided into two spheres. And the similar way, our earth is also divided into two spheres. So any sphere which you may think of can be divided into many hemispheres, of course. But from the middle, you can have an upper hemisphere and a lower hemisphere. For this one, upper one and lower one. The upper one, in case of our earth, we call it...
It is the north.
It is the northern hemisphere.
And the downside, you see, it is the south.
So what happened is, in this middle portion, the sun's light, that falls straight. There is a straight casting of light and heat here. But for the two ends, the light goes to less. So what happens, you are excused, what happens is, when the entire earth was covered into ice, at some point of time, the temperature of the earth increased and the ice start melting. So where do you think the ice will start melting? On these two poles or in the middle?
The middle.
The middle. So the middle portion gets
because
more
it's very hot.
Okay. So this is the hotter portion, which is in the middle, and these two are the coldest part of the earth.
We will never live in there. Only penguins and polar bears and...
So at some point of time, maybe the man appeared on the earth. And the letter says, man, where did they appear? And where did they come? Where are they at present? So consider the present situation. Consider a present situation. Where were you born?
I was born in Memari.
Do you know where did I born?
You were born in Hingolganj.
Alright, so I was born in Hingolganj, but now you were born in Memari, but we stay here now, at Howrah. So people may have been migrated in that way. So where do you see now our forefathers, our ancestors might not have been born at the place that we are in. And if you go back at the very early stage of evolution and very early stage of becoming and appearing of the mankind on this earth, it may have happened at some part of the earth. So in history it says in Mesopotamia, in Egypt, in China, in some part of India, the human evolved. But where they came first, what do you think?
So did you know that in the ancient times all of those continents, they were together? So maybe one of the people could be in each of these continents.
That's another very good point that you raised. So at some point of time, the entire earth, the land mass was together, isn't it? So
they got separated.
They got separated in due course of time. So on the earth surface, if you just close it together, if these were the blocks, you could just put it together to make one broad block, which could be the initial landmass of the earth. How did that landmass, how did it came into existence? Entire earth was ice covered. The ice started melting, so it started melting from here till the north, on the south. So after the ice melted, some places were a little higher in altitude, it was the land, and at some places where the altitude were low, those were the sea and the oceans that we may call it today. Those are still the oceans. So there were many big oceans and the landmass. The landmass was together, as you just said, they got separated.
Because during an earthquake in ancient times.
Oh, during an earthquake that happened? Okay. Thank you for the information.
You're most welcome, my dear sir.
Alright, now I try to make you understand. This letter says, man, the first man came into existence. Perhaps man came into existence in several parts at more or less same time. So now it's a debated question that where the first human became, but we can simply say that at many places man appeared, but it was more or less at the same time. Maybe 100 years or 1000 years before or later, but for a broader time scale, 1000 years is not a big time. It may have happened in that way. Now we try to understand our earth. Oh, before that we must say that man evolved at one place and they migrated from one place to the other and they started moving continuously. But the people, they don't have any house, they are called nomads. They don't have any fixed house. So they are today they are here, the next day they will go somewhere else. But initially what happened, people started settling down near a water body because they needed water for their cattle.
And for their children.
So cattle is a plural noun, you must understand that. So cattle is a group of animals that you may rear at home. That is called cattle. If those domestic cattle that can give you milk, we call them milch cattle. So milch cattle is cow, goat, buffalo, those are milch cattle. So people have different type of cattle and they wanted to stay close to a grassland. The things that you said, the names, you said steppes and tundra, those are grasslands. If we look at here, the steppes, here is what you have as steppes. So steppes, look at this, it's a stretch of grassland across a part of Asia and mostly in Europe. And if you want to see more about the tundras, you can see here. You need to go to Siberia, which is on top of Russia. Right here you can see the tundras. This is also yes, this is also a grassland. Tundra is right here, as you can see in this map here. So those are grasslands, and people stayed close to the grassland because their cattle needs grass. But when at some point of time the grass at one place were lesser by consuming, then the animals needed next grassland. So they moved on and people moved on. The nomadic people, they went with their cattle, the group of cattle, and they started moving. But mostly they moved across a river, because across a river strip there was the grasslands. Okay? So now we are going to understand about our earth, and we need to understand a little more about this. As you just said, the upper hemisphere is the north hemisphere, the bottom hemisphere is the south hemisphere for our earth. There is an imaginary line
that we cannot see.
We cannot see because there is nobody to draw a line on the earth. We just think a middle line, and that middle dotted line which is posted over here, this is called the equator. Why do we call it equator?
Because
the equator has got a word equal. That means it makes the earth divided into two equal parts. That's why we call it equator. Yes. So the name could have been something else, but we call it equator, which equally divides. Okay? Now I tell you this one. Across this line, there are many countries over this line. So we look closely. So here is a country, Brazil, over which this equator is moving.
Country.
It's the biggest country in South America. And it has got equator, same equator. Equator is the line, but this country's name is Ecuador. And here is Colombia. This is in the South American portion. If we go to Africa, there are many countries like Kenya and Dominican Republic, and here is Gabon. Here are some more countries which are Papua New Guinea, which is over the equator. So these places must be very hot, isn't it? So if these places are hot,
then it's very difficult for people to live on. They will just burn up.
So what happens is when people live in these areas, they get habituated with it.
What does habituated mean?
Habituated means adopted. Adopted means they are accustomed with this climatic condition. So if there is more heat, there must be more rain. So most of the forests are also here in this area. You know the world's biggest forest? Where is it? What is the name of the Earth's biggest forest? Can you even think of it?
India,
No, it's in Amazon.
Africa.
It's in Africa. I'm sorry, it's not in Africa. It's in South
I
America.
knew it was in Brazil.
It's in Brazil. You know it very well. So the most of the rain that happens across the equator, and that's why most of the forest lands are in that area. But one more interesting thing, and maybe a difficult thing to say, that because of the temperature is little higher, that is hotter, warmer areas, the people get exposed to sunlight, so there they get tanned.
What
Because
does
of
that
that,
mean?
tan means turning a little brown in color. The skin tone changes to be little brown. Okay, so people in this across the equator will be a little brown. So when we go a little northward, there will be less. These places will be less warm. If we consider this is the hottest place, this is the hottest point, then if we keep going north, it will be less hot, less hot, less hot, cold,
Very
colder,
cold.
very cold,
Very,
cold,
very, very,
super cold. And in this area, that is the North Pole,
And the down and the very, 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 very down area is.
the South Pole, these
This is
areas.
also called as Antarctica, you know.
Okay, so these places are completely covered in ice throughout the year.
Does it melt?
Sometimes it does, but it's not capable to actually melt down these ice caps. These are permanent ice caps, but the other ice in between, sometimes they get melted a little during the summer, and in the winter it again gets frozen. Listen to it. Thank you. So now we will have an activity.
What's that?
So you tell me, looking at the map, if this is the equator, India is in North Hemisphere or South Hemisphere?
North Hemisphere.
Okay. Can you try to find out where is New Zealand, and is it in North Hemisphere or in the South Hemisphere?
It is in the South Hemisphere.
Okay, can you please tell me the name of a country that is located on the equator?
You mean that in the North Equator?
Equator means in the middle.
Oh.
So there must be some countries over which the equator passes. So can you please tell me the name of a country?
Africa?
Africa is a continent. Name of a country, please. Maybe this one? The green one here?
Or maybe this here. Or
You look at the middle line. The yellow one is on the middle line or not?
What?
This dotted line is the equator. This dotted line that goes all over the world across. So now you tell me name of a country which is over the equator.
The pink one.
The pink one. What's the name?
Somalia.
But Somalia is just at the end of Somalia is the equator. What is the next country?
Kenya.
Kenya. Yes. So Kenya is a country which goes.
But there's more, I'm not finished.
There are more. Okay. Tell me more. Brazil. Say that aloud. And the next country? This one? Here?
Yes, Ecuador.
No, it's Ecuador.
Ecuador and Brazil.
Ecuador, Brazil, and
New Zealand.
this is Colombia. That's Botswana. Okay? So now we will do an activity to understand first. Consider this to be the globe. This to be our Earth. So this is called an axis because the Earth rotates like this. Like this. This is the way of rotation of the Earth. For rotation,
It's a bit slow.
it is too much slow, not too fast. It takes 24 hours for one complete rotation.
Papa,
Mhm.
couldn't the Earth run very, very, very fast?
That's not a problem. If this one rotates very fast and if you have a drop of water over this, it will get spilled away. That means we live on the Earth's surface. If the Earth rotates very faster, then we don't have any route to get ourselves anchored into the Earth's crust. We will be splitting out.
You mean that we will go out into space?
We will go out in the space. That's why the Earth should not rotate so faster. Okay? So we take this one here. Now we look at this. Here are 6 things, Sophia. Equator, North Pole, South Pole, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, and axis. You need to write these names at the right places on this earth. Simple work. Choose where is the North Pole, where is the South Pole, and just write their names at the right place.
I marked North Pole
Mhm.
and South Pole in the end of the two circles.
Okay.
And I wrote Northern Hemisphere
Okay.
after equator and Southern Hemisphere before.
Below the equator. Okay. And what? This is the axis.
Yes, this whole line.
So this whole line is the axis. Cool.
And
so now
this line is the equator.
equator is this line. All right. For my understanding, can you please make something more clearer for me? On this one, can you please tell me where is the equator?
Without looking at this.
Without looking at this, can you please tell me where is the equator?
This is the equator.
So can you please tell me, can you please put your hands like this? Equator. So
Equator.
here is north. Keep your, so where is north and where is south? You show me with your other finger.
Here.
What is this part?
South.
And
North.
so
North
can you
Pole,
please,
South Pole.
oh, for my understanding, can you please do something? I couldn't understand that thing. So can you please mark the northern hemisphere with this crayon quickly? Quickly. Northern hemisphere. That means. So this is the northern hemisphere.
And this is the Southern Hemisphere.
And what is this line?
This is the axis.
Axis. And this line in the middle?
Equator.
Love. So as we understand now, when people started living on the earth, and there were so many changes, and finally, people divided their areas into different countries. That's why we have so many countries, and group of countries make a continent. So how many continents we have so far?
7.
Can you please tell me the names?
Asia.
Okay.
Africa.
Africa,
Is North America.
North America,
South America.
South America,
Antarctica.
Antarctica,
Australia.
Australia. This may also be called Oceania. Tell me.
And Europe.
And Europe. Here is Europe. Europe seems to be a very small area with too much of sea and little countries.
That's true.
All right. So now
Is Europe a continent?
Europe is a continent.
I knew it, nailed it.
All right. So now I tell you something. The countries which are above this middle line, we call those countries are in the northern hemisphere. The countries which are below this middle line, we call them the countries belonging to the southern hemisphere. Okay? We have given you some countries, some name of the countries. Here you will write the countries that are in northern hemisphere. Here you will write the countries that are in the southern hemisphere. Here, did you notice something, Sofu? There are two, there are big oceans. So see, here is the Pacific Ocean, which is so big. Just to demarcate the Pacific Ocean, when the equator passes, after the equator, the northern part is called,
The North Pacific Ocean.
and the southern part,
South Pacific Ocean.
don't do like that. And the same way, the Atlantic Ocean is such a huge ocean. So dividing it by the equator, on top is
North Atlantic Ocean.
and the south. And the southern part is South Atlantic Ocean. All right. So what are the things that we have learned today, Sophie? Can you please
We
tell me?
learned about the Earth that has a axis. It's at the equator, imaginary line on the Earth that we cannot see, and the northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere.
Okay. And did you learn about the North Pole and the South Pole?
Sure do. I hope you didn't forget it, my dear Leo.
And